So motivation of having a firewall is as follows: that we need to harden the set of systems against external attacks. And rather than each system is having security for themselves, like buying a gun to protect yourself, we can have a security guard or sentry or firewall to protect a set of devices or a set of users. Okay. Because these users can have different machines, different type of OSs, different kind of hardware. Right. So what we are going to do here, in order to have scalability, in order to protect oneself, the internal network from internet, is to have a small firewall. And this firewall will inspect the traffic that is coming to uh, internal network and do the needful thing. Okay. So what we are doing is separating out the trusted and untrusted part of the network. So the requirements of the firewall are as follows. All the traffic between trust zones should pass through firewall. Okay. Only authorized traffic as defined by security policy should be allowed to pass. Okay. So in a campus, the security guards are instructed to allow certain set of people, right? Or in a resident colony, I mean, security guards are always given instructions, daily or weekly and so on, based on the local conditions, right? What to do, what not to do. For example, now at COVID-19 situation, the security guards are asked not to allow any stranger or any vendor inside. Okay, even they are asked to collect all the courier things, right? Whatever Amazon and Flipkart are bringing at the gate, and ask internal distribution mechanism or internal set of people to distribute those things, right? So these are the set of rules, right? Now security guards are also asked not to allow anybody to go out of campus until there is an emergency situation. Okay, so these are the set of rules that are given to security guards, or here in this case to firewall, to allow or disallow set of people from inside or outside. Okay. Apart from that, it also has a role to possibly avoid or disable any threat that's possible, right? Maybe 3 or 4 goons try to come inside the campus, then security guard can do something about it, right? And they can warn people inside if they're not able to control, or they can control or do something around it. Okay. Similarly, firewall can see what is going inside a packet, okay, and take the needful action. Suppose somebody is trying to send virus inside the campus, right? Or some ransomware inside the campus, right? And then ransomware obviously won't go so easily. I mean, so the intruder will try to break the ransomware into multiple pieces. So they will fragment the IP packet into multiple IP packets, and then send this through firewall. And on so the firewall, if not intelligent, will not be able to see that what they are letting in is nothing but a virus. Okay. Hence, this firewall has to be intelligent enough to see what is happening. Okay. So you can now apply all kind of data analytical tools here, right, to collect intelligence and do a lot of intelligence stuff to secure to allow only secure communication to get into. Okay, another important thing is that if firewall itself is weak, okay, the security guard itself is very, very weak person and does not have strength even to do basic job, right? Then it is for the namesake, right? It is just to discourage some people who will look at a security guard and then not try to get into. But the hardcore criminals can always get through looking at the security guard, that guard is weak. Similarly, firewall, because everybody inside has a belief that there is a firewall or security guard to protect them. So in fact, having a security guard or firewall which is weak can cause more problem than not having a security guard or firewall. Okay, any questions? Right. So firewall should have policy like access control policy, who is allowed to come inside, who is allowed to talk, and so on. It should distinguish between inbound and outbound connection. Now, these are very different things. See, outbound is that somebody who is inside the campus should be allowed to go out. Okay. Only thing is the security guard needs to know the faces of the people or some kind of identity card if people are using. So traffic from inside should be allowed to go outside. Okay. While incoming traffic has to be restricted, right? So in front of the campus, there can be hundreds of people who are trying to get into, or thousands of people. And there has to be then, they have to be controlled. So security guard's role is primarily to control inbound traffic rather than outbound traffic. Of course, we'll see that outbound traffic is also important because there can be insider threat. Okay. Okay. All right. So the last point is covered that there is only limited number of internal users and they are largely trustworthy. So firewall policy can be very simple. For example, you just allow anybody from inside to go outside. So it means that any machine inside should be able to send IP packets outside. But external users need to be restricted, right? Okay. So for example, simple policy could be that anybody who's trying to get into without invitation should not be allowed. Okay. So we can translate this to if you have made a request, for example, request for TCP connection outside, then when you're getting a reply of that, then it should be allowed. But somebody is trying to create a connection to you, should not be allowed. As simple as that. So so depending on what policy you set, correspondingly traffic will be allowed or not allowed. So very simple firewall actions are accept the connection or accept somebody to enter the connected network, or deny a request, or reject a request. So deny and reject may be different. That is something you reject, you'll have to inform the source that you have been denied because your connection request has been rejected because of something. So correspondingly, ingress and outgress traffic, we can have ingress filtering and egress filtering. Okay. Ingress is something that's coming into the campus that has to be filtered. Egress is something that's going to go out. Now, example of egress filtering is that, say for example, there is a school, and in the school, kids are trying to get into a gaming website. Okay. And then a school doesn't want students to go to gaming website because they will waste their time. Okay, so they can also filter the packets that are going outside based on some parameters. Say some TCP address or UDP address or some port numbers and so on. Okay. All right. So firewall works on all layers, right? So if you are using firewall, then firewall needs to inspect packet, looking at everything that goes inside a packet, right? When we say for example, a particular application is sending a packet, and when it is coming to a firewall, then it will look not only that which application is using it, what is the content of the packet. Okay, it may see actually content of the packet. If the okay. Then looking at TCP and UDP headers, they will see what are the port numbers these are using corresponding to different applications. And then they will also may try to put a reassembly of different packets that have come in to see that does it make any sense. Okay, it will do some data analytics to see some correlation with previously sent traffic. Okay, It can also look at IP packet, and it can look at DNS request, DHCP request, ARP request, and all that, and also look at what link layer address is trying to do, because we have seen at link layer there can be attacks. Okay, you can use malicious MAC address and whatever, right? And you can do FTP attack and so on. Right? So role of firewall is look at everything that goes inside a packet or a frame. Okay. Now the question to you is as follows. Firewall has, in order to look at all these contents, firewall has to have all these layers, right? So does it mean that firewall contains a router built into it? Think about it. It has to have some functionalities of routers, not necessarily a very high grade router, but it has to have. Okay. Usually there are large number of configuration parameters available, large number of combinations possible, right? So sometimes firewall also works as a router. Sometimes a router, big router sits behind firewall. But note one thing, that firewall is the first thing to interface with external world, not the basic router. Let's look at types of firewalls. There are three main types of firewall. Of course, nowadays people say that you can extend this to few more numbers, but let's look at the three main firewall types. Okay, first is the most simple one called packet filter firewall. Second is stateful firewall, and third is proxy firewall, which you have been using. Okay, first one, packet filter firewall. This is very simple. It's a stateless firewall. It's like a sentry here who doesn't know anybody. Really, right? Who has come recruited just now, doesn't know who is inside, who is outside, who has no state information. Okay, state in the sense that let's assume there is something happening, right? There is some visitors are supposed to come, and then some people are supposed to go, some exchanges are happening. Then the sentry will not know about all these exchanges, because that's not sentry think that's my role. Sentry will just inspect each and every person that is coming in and going out. That's it. Okay, based on certain parameters. Okay. So this is simplest possible packet filter. It controls traffic based on information the packet header without looking into the payload. Okay. It does not really try to infer anything. It just says that source IP address, possibly destination IP address, some UDP TCP ports. That's it, and let person in. Okay. So it does not maintain a state about the packet. So the packet that is coming now may be related to the packets that have gone inside already. Okay, maybe for some important applications, say maybe some HTTP server running inside the campus, but it will not allow all that, right? It will not. It will treat each of them individually rather than sequentially. Okay. Okay, so one of the important security breach that happens in campus is called tailgating. I think we have discussed this security flaw. Tailgating is that security, if you just follow somebody who is getting inside the building, security guard will think that both of you are together and then will let you in. Okay. Okay, so something that is stateless as the ordinary sentry will not allow tailgating. It will look each person as an individual. Okay. And I told you, I think when I was working in IBM, I had experienced that the country head of IBM didn't come with identity card. Okay, and I was also entering at the same time. So I saw that he's helpless because Sentry is not allowing him to get in. Okay. Now Sentry was acting on the instruction that anybody who does not have ID card will not be allowed. As simple as that. Okay, he followed his job. Great. And then I, as usual, said, okay, sir, please come inside with me. And then sentry said, no, the person is not allowed because he doesn't have ID card. So that sentry at that point in time is doing the role of simple packet filter, looking at identity card, allowing somebody inside or not, and not looking at the previous state. Previous state is that this guy yesterday would have come with his secretary and all that and showed his tantrums, and everyone knows that he is country head of the company. Okay? So this is simplest possible filter. And policies could also be very simple. Say deny all inbound connections, right? Allow all outbound packets, or allow inbound packet that is coming from outside if it is a reply of something. But this sentry can easily be trigged. Okay, because it's very simple. It does not contain the state. Okay. All right. So one can easily fake the identity and get inside. Something that's important and also very popular technique is called stateful firewall. Now here the state of something is looked at before allowing entry of a packet, right? So suppose there are multiple packets trying to enter, then surely this is kind of connection, right? Because these are all related packets, right? So there is this sentry or firewall has to have a state corresponding to this connection. Okay. So this sentry keeps track of all connections, inbound and outbound. State, when we say stateful, the state here is very vaguely defined as connect is condition of the connection. Okay. Now connection itself word varies, right? It's not very accurate term here. Okay. So it has to infer a lot of things before this decisions can be made. So for example, connection has different meaning for, say, for example, TCP, or this UDP does not have a connection, but it can have a flow of packets corresponding to some, say, the destination pair. Okay. Or a application, two application at the end may be communicating to each other through UDP. Okay. Or it could be a, say, FTP session. Okay, and so that all has to be interpreted, or telnet session. Okay, or there may be HTTP server that's responding to some. So all these have to be looked at. Okay. Now, what it does is that it shows a state of legitimate connections in a state table. Okay. And then whenever packet comes, it checks against those states in state table and allows if there is a legitimate connection. So what will happen is that when connection is being set up, then it will take more time to store all these parameters in the table. Okay, but at the runtime, when subsequent packets start coming or data transfer starts, then it will not take much time. Okay, because at the time of setting this entry in the state table, it will look at the contents of the data as well. But for subsequent packets, once connection establishment is over or connection information has been put into state table, it will not look into the contents of the packet, but look only at the header. Okay. So possible state information will include source, destination IP address, port, protocol, different protocol it's using, or maybe a packet may belong to TCP or UDP or higher level protocols also, say FTP or whatever. Different flags, sequence number in case of TCP, or maybe application using some sequence numbering inside UDP, acknowledgement numbers, ICMP code, type numbers, and then secondary connection information communicated in application headers. The application headers may also, for example, is using SIP for voice or IP communication. Then it may try to interpret something. Then application especially command sequence like get, put, and option, and so on. Right. So So it will look at almost everything that is inside a packet and then create corresponding state according to that. Okay, these points we have already discussed. Okay, if new packet is permitted based on firewall rules and security policy, a new entry is added to state table. All right, and once connection is set up, there's no need for application layer inspection. These points we have already discussed. So let's look at one rule. Okay, the rule could be allow TCP connection. Then from what? From 4.5.5.4 star and going to 3.1.1.2 to 80, port 80. Okay. So firewall, it means that firewall should permit a TCP connection that are initiated by host with internet address 4.5.5.4 and from star means from any port. Okay. And then connecting to port 80 of this one, 3.1.1.2. Okay. So this is one rule. So now once this rule is there in state table, then firewall will look at next packet that's coming in from this source to this destination and allow it. It will not look at any other thing, and it will not look at the packet contents and so on. So firewall will keep this table of all active connections. Okay, and if it's a part of that active connection, then it will just let it in. If it's not, it may deny or create a new entry depending on if it permits. It's a part of one of the policies. Okay. Another example is that this is a TCP connection from star.star. Okay, and slash init to 3.1.1.2 port 80 slash external. So it will explain as follows. Firewall should permit TCP connection that is initiated by host with any internal host. Okay, this is okay. So star is corresponding to any IP address and any port number. And then it's going to 3.1.1.2 to port 80. Okay, allow this. Okay, here slash int indicates the network interface coming from a particular network interface. This means that allow all outgoing web requests. Okay. All right. So anything from inside should be allowed to go to anything to outside. And similarly, other one, right? Something that is coming from outside, star colon star slash external should be allowed to come to 1.2.2.3 slash 80 internal. Okay. So firewall should permit outbound TCP connection. Okay. Any outbound TCP connection. Right? So, and second one says firewall should permit inbound TCP connection to our public web server with address 1.2.2.3. So this is coming from external interface to on internal interface on to this IP address with this port number, which is port 80 is for HTTP port, right, for web server. All right. Okay, simple. All right, so these points we have already covered. So again, the concept of state, when we say, it's very elusive. It can mean different things in different situations. And it's left to individual firewalls to decide what state is. Okay. Note that there are not any standard available for firewall. I mean, you see that for internet, right? I mean, when IP packet format, TCP, UDP, DHCP, ARP, all these have very well-defined protocols set by IETF. Okay? But there will be few drafts available corresponding to firewall, but it's left to individual vendor. How do you want they want to implement it? So there's a lot of creativity also in the sense that where different vendors have different solutions. Okay, all right. This we have already discussed. Actually, it's a repeat. This also is repeat. Let's look at this particular example. So here is a machine C1. The source IP address is C1. Is sending a packet to destination IP address called H1. Okay, so this destination IP address is H1. Okay, which is and it is doing TCP connection. Okay, so and then it's sending from port X, source port is X1 and destination port is Y1. And now it's sending SYN packet. When you establish TCP connection, you send SYN. Okay, and then sequence number is N1 and so on. Okay, so based on the rule here, state port firewall will allow or not allow this, right? Okay. Similarly, the return packet is coming with source H1 is coming to C1 and corresponding port, the source and destination port number, and then it's responding to this sync. So it is sync plus X. Okay, and sequence number goes up by 1. So since it knows that the response is corresponding to the TCP request that's gone in the SYN request, it will allow SYN plus X message to come inside. Okay, so it means that if it is it's just looking at a packet as we have seen in ordinary packet filter, then it may not allow, right? Because suppose this is not a trusted party, that it may not allow. But now here C1 has initiated a TCP connection, and then this H1 is responding to that, then this firewall will know that it's corresponding to request, so should allow. All right. Any question? Okay. All right. Okay. You would have studied FTP, and you would have seen that FTP implementation is not simple. Okay. So FTP in a standard way behaves very differently from other TCP-based protocols. Okay. This is stage two-way communication establishment that brings up some issues with tracking of the state in the entire connection. Okay, all it's trying, this sentence is trying to say is that the FTP implementation, if it's allowed as it is, it does not reflect that it's part of TCP connection. So FTP behaves very differently here. Now, if you have ordinary firewall which can't make out these special features of FTP the way it is implemented, then it will not allow FTP requests to get into it. So since the firewall here is stateful firewall, it will have intelligence to find out that this part of FTP connection. So it's shown here that so request comes from port 1233 for some port, because FTP works on port 20 or 21, right? It's for port 21. So and this request will go here. Firewall see that it will change this port request to 1234. When request comes here, it will send this in some form to client. And also when the message, another reply comes from FTP server, then we'll let it in. Okay. Now, without going to details, what I want to say is that since it's a stateful firewall, it can handle a different kind of behavior, which is from some protocol. Okay, because it understands these protocols will behave in particular way, so packet should be belonging to FTP protocol. Okay. Okay, so coming to third type of firewall, which is application or proxy firewall. Okay, you would have used proxy in very intelligent way, right? I mean, or interesting way rather. Uh, for example, in Netflix, you're not allowed to watch certain movies because some movies are meant for distribution in certain areas, say USA. Okay. Now, if you use proxy in your internet connection and proxy is ending at some part in USA, oh sorry, that connection is ending in a proxy. Okay. So your connection actually is ending there, and new connection is starting from that point to say Netflix server. So Netflix server will know that it's coming only from some internal IP address, which is in US, and will allow a distribution of whatever content you're asking for. So application or proxy firewall works in this way. Uh, it controls input, output, access from application or service. So when a machine makes a request, it will terminate the request here and make a new request to the service provider, or what we call that, a server. And when reply come, it will absorb the reply and send the reply, new reply uh, through proxy to this machine. Right? So it acts as an intermediary by impersonating the intended recipient. So this server will not know that the communication is going to this one, but rather it will think that communication is ending right here. This is the recipient. So client's connection terminates at the proxy, and separate connection initiated for proxy desirous. That we have already discussed. So this request will terminate here, and a new request will come here. Similar reply will terminate here, and new reply will go to the sending machine. So data on the connection is analyzed up to application layer to determine if the packet should be allowed or rejected. So this proxy will do also intelligent inspection of various headers and content. So proxy in general, if you look at this term, is something that works on your behalf. When we say it's proxying me in the class, it means that somebody is just taking for you. Okay, I mean just telling when attendance happening, you'll say yes. But it may not be true proxy, but just kind of you can think somebody is proxying for you for some other activity. So it should have complete view of connections and application data. It will filter bad data at application layer, which is viruses, word, macros, etc. It will scan everything, packet header and application data. And it can, interesting thing is that it can also find out buffer overflow attack. All right. A part of firewall is called DPI. Okay, a large number of companies, at least I know a few, like Sandvine was one which I interacted with. And there are many others. Cisco also does DPI, and most of the smart firewalls have DPI functionality built into it. Now it does deep packet inspection. What is a deep here? Okay. It has the ability to collect information and optionally take action based on information in it, or that can be inferred from the contents of the communication. Now, what happens is that normal firewall does not go into very detail of the data that is being sent. Okay, so for example, IP packet may contain UDP, and UDP in turn contain some application packet, and application packet may also contain something, right? So most of the firewalls stop at the level of headers and some kind of looking at what is inside, but not in detail. Okay. But if someone really analyzes what is happening in the packet, right, not only about the headers and flags and so on, but also about the content. right? Then a lot of information can come out. Uh, See, you know that about, I don't know exact number, but I think 60 to 70% content that's traveling over internet is encrypted. If the traffic is encrypted, then what DPI can do? Can it do something? Now there are firewalls with DPI that can also analyze encrypted data, okay, uh, in real time. Now, when we say DPI, then all this activity in general is done in real time. Okay, that's the difference, right? It means that when somebody is, let's assume that there is a insider threat. An employee, for example, is sending company confidential information to somebody outside. Okay, it's a major threat because company confidential or the code of the company which has developed over many years is being sent as part of, say, some packet. Okay, as an attachment. Okay, now this is something. So there is also possibility that person is sending code to a customer. Okay, now there's a, what is the difference between two? Somebody is stealing the code versus somebody is actually transferring the code legitimately or legally. The difference is only that who is sending to whom, whether the recipient is a customer or a criminal. Okay. Now this has to be done. So all this inspection and has to be done in real time, because if the data transfer is happening to customer or somebody, to some machine outside, it cannot be stopped. Okay, so all these things, when we say DPI, has to happen in real time. So key requirements is need to work in real time, need to modify and remain in fact containment processing. So it is based on protocol detection and information extraction, pattern matching, L2 to L4 processing for intelligence gathering, ability to reassemble the set of incoming packets to characterize and extract key information, gather statistics. Okay. As I discussed earlier, one of the attacks wherein fragmentations can be used to get inside network, right? So for example, you want to say send something, a word called attack inside. Okay, so this, instead of sending word attack, which can be caught by firewall, you will send in the first packet A, second packet T, third packet T, fourth packet A, fifth packet T, and last packet K. Okay, so once these fragments, each fragment is seen by firewall, it can't make out anything, but there. So now in real time, you'll have to make a sense that somebody is trying to send a password. Somebody is trying to send something that they are not allowed to. Okay. All right. Any question? Applications could be any, right? I mean, security, of course, is one. Okay. Within security, you can check, for example, for antivirus, some virus, intrusion detection, or it can be used for finding out if somebody is trying to send spam internet data, or basically trying to make internet calls. Or it can be also used for spam, which is spam instant messaging, and so on, right? Because once you can inspect the packet on real time, then you can do a lot of intelligent stuff. It can be also do for problem diagnostics or lawful intercept, billing and meeting application, or any kind of data analytics you can do over it in real time. Okay, now the question is that where do you put these firewalls? So far we have looked at the motivation for firewall. Then we are looking at 3 different types of firewalls. We also looked at we need to have a table inside through which we can find out, whether packet is allowed to enter or not. Okay, the source is very simple. In your laptop or machine, you can have firewall. Okay, this firewall is largely software-based firewall, right? And it has certain set of rules to do certain things. Say, for example, you are communicating to your campus very often. This firewall will have rule corresponding to allow any packet coming from, say, IIT Goa campus router, right? It will have some number. So it will create that rule. Similarly, you are sending it to some place, right, very often that will create rule to do that. So it's a faithful to a loyal local configuration, and it travels with you. It means that firewall is mobile. Okay? It goes along with your laptop. Okay. All right. And then we have network-based firewall, which has both hardware and software. It's kind of full router functionality along with firewall functionality, right? So this is, for example, campus firewall. It can protect whole network or campus from outside world. Okay? So it can make decisions on all of the traffic. Okay? All right. Now next is the concept of DMZ. Okay, or demilitarized zone. So this is demilitarized zone is a protected area, right, which is exposed to external world, but you are keeping it in very special area such that internal side is protected. Oh, it's very similar to, you have border security force or something like. There's a buffer area, right? Buffer state, and they're protecting something that is in the mainland or the center of the country, right? So DMZ. So for example, you're allowing external vendors and external users to access some facilities of your network. So for example, there is a print server, or there is a HTTP server, or some other thing, right? Or maybe FTP server, which external users on internet are allowed to use. Okay, but you don't want to expose the whole network, your network, to them, right? There may be hundreds of other machines or thousands of machines. You don't want to expose those machines to external world, right? Then you are trying to create a DMZ and allow exposure only up to that point. Okay. So a DMZ network gives organization extra protection in detecting and mitigating security breaches before they reach the internal network. It protects hosts such as email server, web server, DNS server that provide services to users outside the network. Okay, so let's look at here. So this is outside world. This is internet. This is inside the campus or inside network, and this is firewall will allow access of the outside world to DMZ, demilitarized zone, right? So this HTTP server, DNS server, MNTP server, SMTP servers, all will be part of DMZ. Okay. Now, this will be created as follows, right? This is the internal intranet or internal network, which call it intranet. Okay, this is a firewall. This is internet, and then this is DMZ. So there can be all kinds of servers can be here, which are serving to external world. So this kind of communication will be allowed. If you want to use, say, just a minute. If you want to use, say, HTTP server here or email server, you should be able to use that. Okay. And internet, somebody who's inside should be allowed to access internet. So firewall will allow this. Okay. Now somebody from outside is trying to access internet should not be allowed. But somebody is trying to use DMZ or some server in DMZ, it should be allowed. The next thing is that if somebody in DMZ, so machines here is trying to access something, then what should be allowed, what should not be allowed. If somebody here is trying to access internet, should it be allowed? No, it should not be allowed. However, somebody is trying to access internet, should be allowed. Yes, it should be allowed. The one here. Why? If this is exposed to external world, if this gets compromised, a machine here can compromise, then it can compromise the whole internet here. Okay. Okay. So it means that this should not be allowed. Simple. All right. So this is another configuration. It's called dual firewall. So now we have one interior firewall, one exterior firewall. In between, there's a DMZ. Advantage of this is that it helps some protection from insider threat as well. Okay, I will not discuss this point here, but good to mention. This is actual implementation of that. So this is internet. There's one firewall, the second firewall, and there's a router in between. And then we are creating a DMZ, demilitarized zone. And this is the internal network. Okay. All right. So this is allowed. This communication is also allowed. This communication is allowed. However, somebody initiating a connection to inside, that's not allowed. And this is also not allowed. Okay. All right. Now, we have a firewall that's sitting in front of the network. It's like a sentry or security guard. But somebody can attack the security guard. Okay. And then get inside. Yeah, that's possible. Okay. So some biggest threat today is that of insider threat. Okay. So because nobody would expect an insider will attack the security guard who's supposed to protect to them. But there can be criminals inside the network as well, right? So perimeter firewall that most of us use is actually to protect threats from outside to inside, right? Okay. So if to protect from insider attack, the internal firewalls are to be placed to protect from insider threat. Okay. Second kind of threat that can totally disable firewalls functioning is distributed denial of service attack. Right? Because ultimately, firewall is built on a CPU and there is a machine computer, right? And then it receives large number of requests for something, large number of IP packets, say millions or billions of IP packets. It has to process all of them. Okay. Then how do you protect from this DOS attack, right? There is a technology called scrubbing, and there's a companies that provide scrubbing services, right? So, say for example, I am a big organization, say Facebook. Okay, and then I will surely have a big firewall, a very powerful firewall to protect my internal network. So let's do one network of Facebook, right? And then if there is a denial of service attack by say millions of bots, then what this guy can do? And then there are agencies or some companies that take care of that. It's called scrubbing services. Okay. So what do they do is that they divert this traffic that's coming to a particular site through change in some router configuration, etc. I don't know how do you do that, but I would think that they will have some machines in between facing possibly firewall, which will divert all this traffic to some third source and then analyze that traffic and let only legitimate traffic to come inside. Okay. So however, here for our discussion, the firewalls can be attacked by distributed DOS attacks. Okay, and there's something that very commonly people do is port scanning. right? Port scanning is, you see, an attacker can go to firewall and see what ports are free and busy. Here we are not talking about physical ports, but actual logical ports, right? And then, say for example, some application may be communicating on certain port numbers, using certain port numbers. Can intruder find out what ports are busy and what are open? Something about firewall market. Uh, there are a good number of vendors. The Fortinet. These are not in the order of importance, right? I think the largest one is there was something called Checkpoint, which I have not mentioned here. So the popular one is, of course, Cisco is one, Barracuda, SonicWall, uh, Sophos, Juniper Network, Huawei, and many others. Okay. In my organization, we are using Barracuda. Very expensive, actually, very expensive. Okay, this is security is very important area of work. And even nowadays, when whole world is trying to understand what's happening in the world because of COVID situation, cyber criminals are doing their job. Okay, in number of attacks in these days has gone significantly higher than it was happening earlier. Okay, and now this market, which is almost going to become 5.3 billion market by 2023. So this market is growing at CAGR of 12.2%. All right. So year on year is kind of growing by 12.2%. All right. And this market is segmented, means like large number of players are there. Now, why I brought in this slide for you is that those of you who are thinking to take security as a career, I would think that there is, at this point in time in the world, there's great shortage of security professionals. Right? Reason for that is that, okay, and the last part of the talk is about advantage and limitation of firewalls, which we have already discussed. As we see that it provides scalability. That is, a campus can be very huge and big, can have thousands of machines, but putting one firewall in front of the campus or in front of a network provides significant amount of security. Okay. Now, it is easy to administer and update. Okay. It is single point of control, easy to deploy, is easy implementation of access control mechanism. Okay. And it's they have ability to detect virus, worms, trojans, and spyware. Although main function of firewall is actually to allow certain set of traffic to come in and go out. Okay. However, by intelligent act or data analytics or deep inspection or some other analysis, one can find out that what the contents are going inside, right? Whether it's a virus, worms, trojan, or spyware or something. Okay, so some firewalls have this capability to deeply inspect packet and find out some of this malware. Okay. All right. Disadvantages. Of course, I mean, whatever you are sending is seen by somebody. Okay. And certain things you can't do. So peer-to-peer communication often is not possible if you have firewall in between. Like in case of proxy, for example, you terminate the connection, restart the connection. Okay. So some application may not work with firewall. So you'll have to do something about it. And of course, there is a malicious insider problem, right? So insider attacks are possible. They don't protect against backdoors. I mean, backdoor can happen into anywhere in the boundary wall. Okay. Okay. If the code is so now if there is a weakness in boundary wall somewhere, attacker can use that weakness to get into the system, right? So we have studied backdoor. Okay. So this security guard will not be help and to protect you from those kind of backdoors. Okay, and firewall establish security parameter, right? I mean, somebody is sending traffic to inside, but if somebody comes with laptop inside the campus and uses it, it means that it has bypassed the firewall. Okay, so traveler can pose a lot of problems for system. Okay, all right. So to summarize, uh, firewall filters traffic based on security policy, source destination IP addresses, source destination port addresses, protocols, contents of packet headers, connection state, and contents of the packet. Okay, and it can do some very intelligent things like deep packet inspection. We have seen 3 different kinds of firewalls: packet filter firewall, stateful firewall, and then application or proxy firewall. We have also studied concept of DMZ, and where something that some servers that are exposed to external world should be placed. Okay, and we have also looked at how firewalls themselves can be attacked. And at last, we have discussed that the whole firewall market is growing at significantly high rate. 12.2% CAGR is pretty good annual growth rate. Okay, and the market size is growing big, so it provides a lot of opportunity for people to have career in this area. All right, so that's all about firewall. Okay, bye.